Everybody, it's Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group. Hope everybody's doing great, enjoying this Monday morning right now. But hey, we just wanted to take the opportunity because there have been a lot of changes and shifts in the marketplace as far as real estate goes. And we wanted to take the opportunity to kind of give you an update of what's actually going on right now, since we actually haven't done a market update in a while. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mark, and we're going to discuss what's actually taking place.
Hi, Scott. Yeah, happy to be here. So, you mentioned some things shifting in the market perhaps. And so I guess that's just my main question first here is what is going on in the market right now?
Right. And that's the number one question that we're getting right now, Mark, is what's actually taking place. And you actually have seen a shift in the marketplace. Now, that doesn't mean that the prices are crashing like 2008. We get a lot of questions from a lot of our, past clients and present clients that, is the market actually crashing? And the numbers obviously don't indicate that. And there's a few things that are quite different from then that there are now. Back in 2008, there was really no financing available, and the financing wasn't legitimate. And here in 2018, the financing is legitimate. The question that really, is taking place right now is buyers' affordability. And so the fact that you factor in the interest rates closer to 5% and the increase in prices year over year over the last few years, it's really put a damper on the buyer's affordability. But homes are still selling right now. And so that's really the main indicator that we really look at. So it's really sometimes deceiving because if you look in the media, the media really looks at indicators that are 3, 4, 5 months old. And so what we usually like to do is look at indicators like what's currently happening today in the marketplace to help both our buyers and sellers.
Great. So with that, let's get into inventory. Where do you think inventory is at right now? And what do you think the implications of those numbers are?
Right. So at the end of July, you had just under 1,400 properties in the entire San Fernando Valley for sale. It was actually 1,388 according to our local board, which is really low. And we've talked about a lot of times here on our blog that in order to have an even market, you need 7,000 properties for sale. And obviously 1,388 is way below that. At the beginning of August, you saw a big jump really in inventory, closer to about 2,700 homes for sale in the entire San Fernando Valley. Now, just to give you an idea, like in Porter Ranch in the 91326 zip code, we were hovering at about 68 homes. And then literally within 3-4 days, we went up to 84 homes on the market. But now, as of this morning, you're looking at only 72 properties for sale. So again, that tells you that the demand is out there, a lot of it due to the lack of inventory. And there are a lot of different reasons on why we still have the lack of inventory, but obviously not enough available housing is really the number one key factor. So you still have a lot more demand than you do have supply. So again, the numbers as far as inventory go, the numbers, if you really look at it, have not gone up really that much, despite the fact of having a little more inventory on the market because you still have a lot of pending sales.
Okay, great. So you and I were talking earlier, and you were mentioning how it's important for the buyers, especially now, to see the value in what they're doing. So I'm wondering, could you maybe go a little bit more in depth on what the market is like from the buyer's point of view?
Right. So you have to, we always tell our sellers, especially right now, is that you have to be really cognizant of what the buyer is going through, the buyer's state of mind. So I'll give you 2 examples. So you take a $500,000 condo with about a $400 homeowners association payment a month. Okay. So most buyers at the $500,000 range, most of them aren't coming in with 20% down. They're coming in with probably 5 or 10% down if they're a first-time buyer and they might currently be renting. Well, if you really think about that, 5 to 10%, especially if it was 5% down, by the time you figure in the interest rate, what it is now as opposed to last year, you're looking at almost a $3,800 a month payment. Well, to be able to rent that same unit would probably cost them somewhere in the range of about $2,800 to $3,000 a month. So that's a savings of about $800. So, the gap in between being able to rent and being able to buy, you're still seeing that grow a little bit. Now let's take example, like let's say a house that's about $800,000. So on an $800,000 house, you're probably looking somewhere about $750 to $1,000 more on their monthly payment from buying today as they might have about a year ago. So, those are the things that we tell our sellers that you have to be, really cognizant of. Because at the end of the day, a lot of our sellers say, well, you know what, we'll just price it at this price and then the buyer can bring us an offer. Well, in reality, what really ends up happening is the buyer doesn't see, one, the value in the property. Number two, they just think the seller isn't motivated. Or three, a lot of times what we're seeing also is that a lot of these buyers over the last few years, they've been beaten out on so many different multiple offer situations that they have buyer fatigue, and a lot of them have just decided that they wanted to rent. So you have all those things taking place right now in the marketplace. Now, that being said, the sales are still very strong if the house is priced correctly. And that's really, the number one key if you're a seller is to make sure your home is priced correctly so the buyers, do see the value. Now, like I said, in the beginning here, Mark, is that you're not really seeing this market crash that some people might actually hope that we actually see. You're probably seeing a bit of a correction. So going back to an $800,000 house, some of the sellers might want to expect to get 830, 840, 850, which you might have seen maybe towards the beginning of the year. Well, now the properties are selling for whatever the market value is. So if the market value is 800,000, then that's really what the seller can expect for it. And so, now the buyers are taking their time a little more. One, because there's a little bit more of inventory, and they're just being more cautious, the buyers are. So, for homes to sell, before it was about 28 days on the market in the 91326 zip code. Now you're probably looking closer to about 37, 38 days on the market.
All right, sounds good. So remaining kind of from the seller's perspective right now, are you finding people are moving to the San Fernando Valley at a high rate right now?
Right. So that's one of the things that's really fueling the sales in the San Fernando Valley. So, especially when you have a lot of people that are priced out in other areas of Southern California, like the West Side, whether it be the beach areas, whether it be Pasadena, Burbank, Glendale, the South Side of the Valley, even to some extent. So what's happening is they're all coming to the Central and North San Fernando Valley because their dollar gets stretched so much further. So you have this massive migration of people coming in. So I'll give you two great examples. We just recently closed a home in Porter Ranch. The buyer had to sell their home in Sherman Oaks. It was a 2-bedroom home. But for them to be able to afford a 4-bedroom home in Sherman Oaks, probably south of the boulevard, they were probably going to be looking at around the 1.3, 1.4, price point. Well, in Porter Ranch, they were able to get a 4-bedroom home for $800,000. So again, it comes back to being to be able to afford. And then, what we're seeing is we're having a lot of people come out from the West Side to Porter Ranch. So entry level on the West Side for a condo ranges between $750 to $850 for a condo. Well, a lot of these people who are in condos, young families, now need more space. But to be able to buy a property on the West Side, now you're talking about a couple million, as opposed to the price point in the San Fernando Valley, which is much more affordable.
All right. Is there anything else that sellers should be aware of if they were to potentially put their home on the market right now?
Right. I think that, again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, Mark, is that really price is going to be 80% of your marketing. You really need to be priced competitively based on the condition of your home. If your home is completely remodeled, then obviously you're going to be expected to be able to fetch more. If the house needs a lot of work, or again, it's not completely remodeled, then you really need to take that into account. When it comes to pricing the sale of your home, because a lot of the buyers, they only have enough money to get in with their down payment. So most of the buyers don't have the fund to be able to do a complete remodel. So it's just, again, really take a look at the comparables if you're a seller and make sure that you're doing your due diligence.
All right, great. So that's a good kind of overview of where the market's at right now. If someone wants to know more specifically about their scenario and whether it's a good time for them to buy or sell right now, how can they reach out to you?
Right. So they can contact us anytime here at the Scott Himelstein Group. They can contact me direct 818-396-3311. That's 818-396-3311, or scottworksforyou.com. Again, that's scottworksforyou.com.